Howdy, folks. Dave Courthouse, Red Pill Politics, back with another live stream here at the Bundy trial in Las Vegas, Nevada. As promised, I got some great guests for this particular episode. We've got Shawna Cox. Shawna was out there not only as part of, she was in the vehicle when LaBoy Finicum was shot, but she was also one of the ones that quitted, so she's a special guest I didn't get to announce earlier. She was one of the 7 acquittals. And Neil Wampler, he's with us today too, also acquitted. We hope to make this a pattern. There's some men inside this building right now that are still in jail who should be out, and we want acquittals across the board. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that today. Neil, let's start with you. Please give us a little bit of a backdrop about the experience and not only the event that happened out there, but what led up to this acquittal and why it was a deserved acquittal on top of it.
Well, you mentioned the word pattern, and I myself, I'm sure Shawna would agree with me, we're seeing a definite pattern occurring here in this in Navarro's courtroom. The same one that we saw in Oregon that led to our acquittal, the same one we've seen in the first 2 trials here in Las Vegas. This is a groundless set of accusations being foisted by the prosecution. They consistently show a bunch of unrelated tidbits of evidence and never any smoking gun. This is what they did up in Portland, and this is what they're doing here in Las Vegas. I have to say that attributing a reasonable amount of intelligence to the government, to Meyer, and the federal attorney's office here, any reasonable person would see that they have an extremely remote chance of securing any convictions here in this trial. That being so, we have to call this proceeding a gigantic, multi-million-dollar harassment campaign and federal boondoggle being mounted by the federal courts here in Nevada.
Now, they're not allowing some key evidence in. A lot of the defendants' evidence has been squashed, and I think we're seeing, speaking of patterns, you see government many times in their aggression to get an acquittal, or not an acquittal, but a conviction. They not only will squash key evidence, but they'll keep bringing people that are acquitted back over and over and over again, trying to spend them down. Isn't that so? You feel that this is, they're attacking our wallets too, and if they can't get you convicted, they'll spend these people into bankruptcy. I see that pattern developing.
That's why I called it a gigantic multi-million-dollar harassment campaign on the part of the federal government to wear these good Americans down. Somewhat of a question whether or not after this 3rd trial here, the Monday Law case is results once again in a hung jury, whether the government will have the temerity to call it a mistrial and try to do it all over again. Is there any kind of limit or any kind of simple, common decency in these people? And it's becoming doubtful that there is any moral imperative in them, any common decency, or even any interest in justice. This is shaped up to be a vendetta being pursued by the federal government against these good Americans. So perhaps Shawna has a few words about this.
Well, now that we've been through 4 trials, and it's very difficult because we've seen exactly what it is, a pattern of attacking and who they're attacking. And it seems that they are good American people, that we have veterans, that we have militia men who are really, militia is all of us. So we need to understand that, because when you stand up for your rights and your liberties, that there is an unseen power that is a force to contend with, that are out to destroy the American people. And you saw that on October the 1st here in Las Vegas itself. And we saw that in Oregon. And we've seen that in different operations across this country. So who's the real enemy that we're fighting against? We need to understand who those people are so that we know who we're actually dealing with. In this courtroom, you're not going to see justice. We haven't seen any justice yet. It isn't about who's right and who's wrong even. It's not even allowed into the courtroom so that the jury could tell. The awesome thing about the jury is that they are able to tell that they're not getting the truth, that they don't know what's happening. They are having so much hidden from them in the lies and the deceit and the dog and pony show that goes on, that they really begin to realize that this is a setup deal. It is rigged from the beginning to the end. And all we want to do is tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. And the only reason we're going to get through this is by God's hand alone. It is only by people who are honest in heart and that know the difference between right and wrong, that we have to stand up and say what we know is right. It isn't all these, I call it the emperor's clothing. It's something that we can't see, and yet they want us to believe things that are not really there. They want us to believe things that they say that are absolutely false. And we can't fall for that. And American people have to understand that if you're on a jury, you have every right to nullify those laws that are not real constitutional laws. If we're going to save this Constitution, then we have to stand together. Because united we stand and divided we'll fall. And that's what they're trying to do. Peel us off one at a time, a couple here, a couple there, plea them out, get them to plead guilty to something they didn't do, and they know that they didn't do it. We know they didn't do anything wrong, and yet they peel us apart until we have infighting, and we can't have that, you guys. We have to stand together. Anyway, that's the way I see it.
Well, thank you very much. Now, I want to point out, there's a couple of things at play here. We've got a system that is threatened by individuals that empower themselves just through their individual liberties, their ability to use the property rights. And that's, and I'll repeat this, this is one of the things I mentioned yesterday in the stream, is America is extremely unique. We are the only nation in the world that hold property rights the way that we do. The individual can actually own and control property and extract the wealth from that property and put it to a productive use. Agriculture is what founded this nation. It was a backbone. The farmers and the ranchers led the way before the cities developed and everything else followed. It was farmers that blazed that trail. And what happens in today's society, you're talking about an entire industry that is almost forced to be local. We get government farms and food shipped in only because it's forced that way. Kids are in these communities, in these farming towns, without jobs when they should be employed on farms. So this is a direct threat to the powers that be to have farmers and ranchers across this nation producing food locally, employing kids locally, and empowering people locally. This is an attempt to centralize that under the government. The day we get our food off from a government truck, we are screwed, we're done for. So understand the importance of local agriculture. That is under attack. And let's not forget, this is the elephant in the room right now. And if you go and look at the mainstream prostitutes out there, they're starting to talk about uranium-1. Please dig into this more. This is what was underneath these ranches, uranium and water resources. And let's face it, when you control things like water, you control entire populations. So this is about resource control. This is about squashing agriculture, which is a strong, vibrant part of our economic motor in this country. So dig into this. Agenda 21 policies have been trickling down forever. And I can tell you, as my town's conservation agent for 14 years, I've watched this bill trickle in through our regional planning commissions. You realize, you people back in the Commonwealth, you now have got a state where every county it exists is a physical boundary, but it has no power, no authority. It's been dissolved, and in its place we have regional planning commissions, bureaucrats. Remember that Soviet-style pyramid that I've described to you before? That's at work here. The small-time land trusts that we deal with back in the Northeast, well, the BLM is the federal version of that out here. They act much like a land trust back home, and instead of taking just a parcel here and a few acres there, they are taking thousands of acres.
I want to play on that just a little bit because I didn't know we were going to go that direction. We do know that it's the resources under the land, it's the minerals, and it's that are being played by the politicians. And it's the politicians that are totally invested into these. Sometimes I forget the words. But they're totally invested into these resources, these mineral deposits, and they are manipulating into the stock market. And that's where we have become their slaves. Because using the Agenda 21, they're forcing us off the lands. And these lands are what feeds us, and that is the backbone of our nation. That's why the ranchers, they got to go after the ranchers, the farmers, the control of all that resources, and to take all of our industry overseas. This is all part of their agenda, because these people like Hillary Clinton and Uranium One, Calico Resources, they have every agenda to take this uranium against our country in giving that 20%, selling it. And where do they have a right to sell any of our resources, our minerals? They're all in hedge funds. You just look it up. Go through and find those hedge funds, and you'll see how they're all invested and how they all tie together through Comey, through all of them that are clear up to Washington, D.C. It's a plot against the American people. So if you think that this little shooting here was a major issue here in Las Vegas, it's just one of many. And the government is coming after people that want to stand up. Why a country western concert? Because 2 days this occurred before we were to start trial here. This is a terrible thing, people. You have to understand what's really happening behind the scenes, and you have to be aware. Do not be afraid. We have to be aware because we can't stay together if we don't.
Can't let them intimidate us. I had to say though, this history of the last few years is all so very full circle. We have out of control federal agencies who have declared a war on rural America and are prosecuting a ruthless attack upon good American farmers and ranchers and miners. They ran into a family though that said no to them, the Bundys of course. And that has been the spark for a gigantic uprising all across this country. I have to refer to, though, in reference to it being full circle, and the weaponized regulations are being promulgated by all these federal agencies, to a quote from the Declaration of Independence that is so apropos and poignant to what is going on in this country today. As many of you probably know, our founders listed in the Declaration of Independence a number of different complaints that they had against the British government. Many of them agreed with. This particular one, it has a very surprising application. Here, and I'll quote it. They have erected a multitude of offices and sent hither swarms of agents to harass us and eat out our substance. Does that sound familiar to any of you folks when you think of the Bureau of Land Management, U.S. Forest Service, the Environmental Protection Agency, and many others? These agencies now have weaponized their regulations with the specific purpose of destroying rural America, destroying rural agriculture, and driving people off, driving the good people off the land. This is what's going on right now. This was the cause of all of us going to Bundy Ranch, to going to Sugar Pine Mine, to going up in support of the Hammonds in Oregon, to taking our demonstration to Malheur, and the fight is going on right now in this federal court here in Las Vegas. It's extremely important, a pivotal moment in our American history, whether or not good Americans, and believe me, the Bundys are some of the best Americans, whether good Americans can stand up against this federal racketeering cabal that is trying to prosecute this war. So I'll say what I've said many times. You can't make history sitting down, folks. You have to stand up. Thank you.
And I'm going to say one more testimony for the Bundys. They are friends. I love these people. They are righteous, good men, a good family, and they stand for the things that are right. I stand with them, and I want that to always be known. I will not back away until these men are all free.
Well, thank you for that, and I've got a pair of the exact same sentiments. As you all know, I brought Jeanette Finicum out to talk to us in Massachusetts a few times now. Wonderful family. They're grounded in their faith. They're a prime example of the closeness in family and the asset to an entire community that they can be, and also how ordinary people can do very extraordinary things. So in closing up this particular broadcast, I'm going to ask you to do something again. Get off your hands, get out there, call, fax, and email the governor of Nevada and the senators of Nevada and demand that these people get a fair trial and that this evidence be admitted in. You can't have a fair trial, and you will not see justice without all of the evidence being viewed by these jurors. This is an incredibly important trial, and you know, they can't lose a right without you losing one. So please stand behind them, support the family, friend them on Facebook. Bundy Ranch, look that up, go to the Blogspot page. You'll get updates on the trial. You'll find out how you can support through the legal fund. Don't let these jackals spend them down. Don't let them lose because of a mighty dollar. So please get involved. Contact the powers that be, every one of you. My friend Anthony Rizzuto from New York, he got 5 minutes after the last broadcast, he got some of these critters on the phone and gave them a tiny but exciting piece of his mind. You do the same thing. We cannot sit down on this. As I said, if these people lose their right, we are losing the same right too. So please do not stand by and just be spectators in life. You have got to be active. You got to be engaged. These guys are the tip of the spear in a property rights discussion that is critically important. So I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching. Please share, share, share. Get this out on your page, every page that you can, and get this information out far and wide. And we're going to be coming back with some more interviews, and I expect your help. This stuff isn't rooted back home. I'm telling you, California and Massachusetts are the testing grounds of some of the most socialist legislation. You guys back home, you know, you've seen it. You've lost so many rights already. You're living in little Agenda 21 cubicles on a transit corridor. You're losing every day that you just sit there. So I got to thank you both for being involved and just being good Americans in what you're doing here. It is essential. So please get active. Call those legislators. Call the governor. Faxes and emails. Burn up those phone lines. Everywhere. Share this with your friends in other states, because it is in every state in the union right now. So thank you very much. Tune in to Red Pill Politics. Be looking on my page for the next update, because they're coming. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Could I say one thing? An Edmund Burke quote? Okay, I got just one thing. This is a quote from Edmund Burke. All that's necessary for forces of evil to win in the world is for enough good men to do nothing. Thank you.
Truer words than ever spoken. Thank you, and see you on the next broadcast.